All right, guys. Welcome to RTX Pinball. Today we have an exclusive opportunity to interview a member of AtGames, Scott Shelton. Really excited for this interview. It'll be the first time anybody's been on my channel, so no pressure to Scott. But here we go. Welcome. How we doing?
Good, man. I appreciate you having me on. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So, let's get started then. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your role at AtGames and when you joined there.
Yeah, so I've been with AtGames for about a year and a half. My role is primarily as a designer and producer on the AtGames original tables. A little bit about my background is I've been working in the industry a long time, for over 35 years. And I started a company way back in 1990 called Origin Systems. And some of the old timers might remember the Wing Commander games. That's mainly what I worked on there. But before joining AtGames, I was at Farsight Studios for the last 19 years and was a producer on all the pinball tables that they developed there.
That's awesome. And so there's a lot of great titles. I mean, I know I played a lot of Farsight tables through the PS2 years, the Vita years, so lots of good stuff in there. So awesome. And Wing Commander too. Like, I know we talked about that a little briefly. I love Wing Commander, so it was really cool to hear that you worked on that.
Yeah, those were fun.
So you've been at AtGames for about a year and a half, you said.
Yep.
During that time, then, you said you worked on some of AtGames originals. What games have you designed and produced on?
Yeah, so far it's been, my first one was Firefighter Wildlands, and then I did Baby Shark, and then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Wow, some pretty big hits, actually. So,
yeah,
I know Baby Shark was, I was super excited about that one, actually, when I heard about it, because it was a kid's IP, so that was kind of cool to hear. Firefighter Wildlands came out of nowhere. That was pretty exciting, too. And just the... We'll talk more about the design of that and kind of what your inspiration was for it, but I love that one. And then TMNT, that one became the basis of the HDP, so that had to be kind of exciting.
Yeah, it was nice being it was stressful, because I did
sure.
It's a flagship table, but yeah, I mean that one was just a lot of fun to work on. They all have been, I've really enjoyed. I'm just a, huge pinball fan, always have been. So, this has kind of been a dream to get to design these tables, and I'm hoping to continue. I mean, it's been fun so far.
Awesome. All right, let's get into. So, what makes an AtGames original an original? When you're working on an original table, like maybe Firefighter Wildlands, Baby Shark, you're starting a completely new slate. As we mentioned, with TMNT, you had a licensed IP that you had some restrictions on, I'm sure. And you don't get to lean on those with an original IP. What are the core ideas and design values you always come back to when defining an AtGames original table?
Well, yeah, I mean, the first thing is obviously, an original was not based on any real-world pinball machine. So whether it's there's an IP or not, these tables are built from the ground up. And then, when you're starting from a blank slate, I always feel like the gameplay has to do the heavy lifting. The most important things, in my opinion, are like strong shot feel, clear objectives, and immediate feedback. If the table doesn't feel good to play, no theme is going to make it fun. So it's all about the fun. As far as making the tables, we wanted to play like classic pinball, so I always focus on the kind of the pinball fundamentals. I want the target shooting at to be obvious and shootable. I want the progression to be understandable. If you're in a mode, you should always know what you're aiming for. It's really about simple, like, cause and effect. That's important. If the player accomplishes something special, I want to give them a big reward.
Gotcha.
So regardless of the theme, the pinball experience should always feel familiar the moment you start a game.
So do you have any ability to pull from classics that you like for particular shots and different things?
I'm a huge, like, to me, the tables I really draw on the most, the ones that are my favorite were the, kind of the, 90s Williams and Bally tables.
Gotcha.
I'm big on modes, and, that's where, I went from the 80s to the 90s, and you saw that complexity really jump.
Yeah.
And so those are my favorite personal tables.
Do you have a favorite designer in particular, or?
I would say Steve Ritchie.
Okay.
My favorite, and I had the opportunity to meet and talk with him back at Farsight.
That's awesome.
I just think, I definitely follow a lot of what he does, just in general. I just think his tables were fantastic.
I completely agree. I know you've probably watched some of my stuff eventually. I talk a lot about Thomas Croft's 3 flipper designs. Steve Ritchie tables are absolutely my favorite. Obviously, we just got Black Knight 2000, which is a big hit.
Yep.
Getaway, all really good tables. So I know when I created my VPX table about a month or so ago, I nicknamed it Spin Cycle, and it's a 3 flipper design with lots of loops, and it's all Steve Ritchie all over.
Yeah. So. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that was the golden age of pinball. Personally.
Absolutely. Okay, so AtGames pinballs are designed for a broader accessibility in a home market, obviously. So these tables are not coin munchers necessarily. They need to be playable designs, right? So how do you approach creating a rule set that's simple enough for families to enjoy while providing enough depth and challenge for us higher level players?
Yeah, I mean, that balance is really intentional. I try to look at it from both sides, where I want an inexperienced player to have fun without having to like read rules or watch a tutorial. I kind of mentioned it before, but I try to make the goals obvious. I want players to feel rewarded quickly. I'm a big fan of things like generous ball savers, kickbacks, making the modes, relatively easy to activate. Okay. And especially including multi-ball. Some of these tables that I play where it's like the average player is never going to get a multi-ball. So I try to at least make the first one easy to activate. Because there's nothing cooler than multi-ball.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But then, the depth really comes later, where there's advanced scoring strategies and kind of risk-reward, so I kind of look at it that way, like a casual player can enjoy the surface level, have some fun, while an experienced player can really dig in deeper, and keep finding new ways to improve.
That's awesome. I know growing my own skill set has been really challenging. Like, there was stuff that tables absolutely would kill me. And then now I feel like I'm getting a little better, and it's like, okay, now I can actually get into some depth and actually feel like I'm making progress.
Yeah.
So that's really super exciting. So anyway. All right, so even for TMNT, Firefighter, and Baby Shark, and actually we'll bring these up here in a second too, they have totally different vibes, but they still feel like they're kind of part of the same universe, if that makes any sense. When you're thinking about layouts and art, are you consciously thinking about creating a family look across AtGames tables, or does it just happen naturally?
I would say it's mostly intentional. A common theme in my layouts is really to keep them somewhat simple, user-friendly to play. I try to avoid things like mid-playfield blockers or, targets you're never going to hit because they're obscure, somewhere hidden on the playfield, or even difficult to reach areas of the playfield. I don't like that at all. So
I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, I mean, it just, I want you to be able to look at the table and know what you're going for,
Gotcha.
And then when it comes to the art style, these themes naturally are kind of family friendly. You look at something like Hurdles, for example. When it came time, all right, which one are we going to base it on? We went with the original animated series, which was, obviously lighter than some of the later series and movies.
For sure.
Yeah, so it just fit. That's we definitely want these tables to be something that every member of the family can enjoy.
It's awesome. Yeah, Turtles for sure got. It started off with the 87 theme, which is actually really well done on the HDP, in your table, of course. And then you get into the much darker versions of the comic books, and even some of the movies got into much more darker tones. So,
I heard they're even making an R-rated version now.
Last I heard, they canned that. I was super excited for the Ronin, which was supposed to be Raphael's dark story or something. And last I heard, they canceled that, and we're going to go back and do another team TMNT. So I don't know what happened with that. I was super excited for that. So if I'm wrong, I hope somebody corrects me in the comments. But I was like, man, I
don't know.
I was pumped for that.
I heard that.
So let's jump over. We'll talk some specific tables here. We'll bring up Ninja Turtles, and we'll flip on the playfield here and just talk a little bit about some of the shots and different things that you really dialed in with this one. Being this was your first licensed IP table, well, here anyway. Obviously, you did recreations and stuff at Farsight, but what was the biggest challenge in translating such a beloved, character-driven franchise into compelling pinball layout and rule set? And how did the collaborative process with Nickelodeon differ from creating an original? That had to have been a certain headache as well, or could be.
Yeah. I had a little experience because when I first started, I didn't design the tables, but I worked on the rare pack.
Oh yeah.
Was very involved with the dealing with the rare for approvals. But yeah, so with Turtles, the big thing was obviously you want to honor the characters, but I didn't want them to just totally overwhelm the gameplay. I think when it comes down to it, fans they really care about tone, personality, authenticity. So it's important for me to get that right. And I think like a big key for that was getting the voice of Leonardo, Ken Clark. I mean that was awesome. A huge win for us.
Absolutely.
And man, talk about a fun session. The recording session with that guy. I mean,
I hadn't even thought of that. That had to have been pretty cool.
It was a lot of fun. He's a great guy. And
did you meet him in house then in the whole bit, or just on Zoom?
It was done over Zoom.
Okay.
Yeah, I got to talk to him quite a bit, but yeah, just a really fun guy. The recording session was awesome.
That's cool. So this table, awesome table. First of all, I love this table. There was very few things that I could even consider knocking on it. I love a lower playfield. I know not everybody does, but I certainly do. The mech in the middle kind of gives me like a Champions Pub kind of vibe. Being able to attack Shredder directly, which I thought was pretty cool. What are some of your favorite shots and different things that you really had to have to make this table? That had to be there.
Well, like for me, obviously the Shredder bash toy, I just had to have that. As soon as I got handed this and said design it, I was like, all right, I'm going to put a big Shredder right in the middle.
That's awesome.
On the table, and I'm going to, focus on hitting him. And then, like the modes themselves, I spent so many hours watching the series, going back and watching it and going, okay, and you see, the common tropes from the series that just had to be turned into modes. So, things like Saving April, Pizza Time, and defeating, Bebop and Rocksteady and Foot Clan soldiers, So it was, to me, that table's all about the modes. And I really, I'm proud of, the design of that one because there's so many things to do on it.
It really is. I know. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but it was every 45 seconds something activates. It's just awesome. It just keeps you rolling.
Yeah. Just no two games are the same. Is what I really like about it. And you mentioned, you were asking about, working with the license holder. So Nickelodeon was great. And the challenge with the license IPs that. Obviously these companies they treasure these IPs, so they demand the highest quality for their brand, which you can't blame them. I mean, especially for something like Turtles.
Sure.
but that team, they really very flexible, and they actually offered feedback that really improved the table. So I really appreciated working with those guys.
That's cool. I like that you actually had some. It was very mode centric on this one. I really appreciate that. So many of the Magic Pixel tables are not very much mode based. They do a lot of. Some of them are just very combo based. Some of them they kind of have a gimmick on an upper playfield or something. You don't really have that. So I know that was refreshing for me personally.
Yeah, I love modes, and again, that goes back to the Williams Valley. A lot of those tables were that way, and I can only design like what I think is fun. And I have obviously having worked on all the Pinball arcade tables, I know what the thought process was into all of them. So I kind of model it after that.
Good
That's
stuff.
my favorite type of table.
Is this the favorite table that you've done so far?
I would say so.
Okay,
Yeah.
I would tend to agree. This is an awesome table. I know a lot of people love Firefighter Wildlands for sure.
Yeah.
Baby Shark is all over the place because of the IP, but it is what it is, right?
It's a progression. I'm learning as I go too. Because at Farsight we were recreating real tables. So really, Firefighter Wildlands is the first one I designed.
Wow.
An original table.
Did I hear you correctly? You said you kind of created this before you even came to AtGames?
Yeah. This was kind of my interview process.
It's kind of like really? It wasn't more like a whiteboard. You just had something in the hopper, or?
Yeah, I was basically told, hey, just design this table.
Okay, interesting.
We'll see what you got.
That's cool. Actually, that's kind of nice.
Believe me, I went crazy with the design. I wish I could share the original document because I didn't really know about the hardware limitations.
Sure.
With AtGames or development. How much resources we had or any of that. So
yeah.
I just shot for the moon, and that's kind of my philosophy too. Is always design up and scale back.
Gotcha.
I'm going to ask for the most I can, and scale back as needed. But
that's an interesting point. I know you. I mean, you obviously have to design these. You're designing them for capable of 4K, but then also HD, and then you have the little baby Micro, which has a lot smaller chipset, obviously, than the 4K and the lock chip and all that. So you still have to accommodate some of those things.
Yeah.
Is there any challenges associated with that, or is it just scalability?
Absolutely. I would love to throw a 6-ball multi-ball.
That's true.
I can't. You just nailed it on the head, though. We have to support all the devices, and there are limitations with that.
Okay. Let's jump over to Firefighter Wildlands. You had mentioned that one. You said this was your first table. How did the theme for this one dictate the physical layout? Did the idea of rescuing civilians or putting out fires through shots mechanics come first, or did the theme grow out of a playfield that already felt fun?
Yeah, this one, like I said, it started with the theme, and just the idea of it just made sense as a pinball table. Escalating danger, urgency, rescue. I mean, to me, that's what makes a great pinball table. It's kind of the, it's like an adrenaline rush, and this one just fit perfectly with that. And so what I did was, I got given the theme, said, hey, design this table, and I just spent, like I said, many hours just researching what these crazy guys do out in the field, because you talk about a dangerous job.
Yeah, I had no idea what smoke jumper was. I looked it up myself, so that was new to me.
Yeah, I mean, these guys don't even make a lot of money, and they put their lives on the line. And so,
wow,
I almost felt it was honor in designing this table. It's like I felt good about giving them their props, and so like I said, I researched it, and then when I kind of figured out the main tasks that they do, then I designed the playfield and the modes around that, and as best I could. And
it's a great.
I think
table.
It turned out pretty good.
Absolutely, it's a great table. Yeah. And I know I sent you a picture of the guy who customized his entire 4KP to Firefighter Wildlands. I wish I had a picture of that. I should have showed that, but
no,
yeah, it's beautiful.
That was awesome.
So for Firefighter Wildlands, I mean, this first of all, it's a beautiful table. You got some really cool. I love the way the kind of the sun is like blotted out by the smoke in the background, and pretty cool.
Yeah.
The helicopter mech, was that something that you thought of early that had to be there, and dropping the multi-ball into the playfield and stuff? That had to have been kind of cool.
That was probably the first feature I thought of.
Okay.
Yeah, I just thought, what a great ball walk, and what a great effect that would be to have it actually dropping the balls on the playfield.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with how that turned out.
I know Gottlieb's Rescue 911 kind of had the helicopter that had on the swing arm or whatever.
Yep.
Kind of did the same thing, but not really. Like, I think your implementation was a lot better, frankly, but...
yeah, and that one, you just kind of you were trying to drop a ball in a hole.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And, definitely it just made sense, because the Firehawk helicopters are a big part of fighting, forest wildfires. So
yeah,
right away I was like, all right, I'm gonna have a helicopter.
Flammable pinballs, that had to be a thing. Was that?
Yeah.
Now I think we talked a little bit about limitations. Was the limitation on the flaming balls on the multi-ball just too much for the smaller guy?
Yeah.
I figured it had to be, but
it's really what it was. And the original design too actually called for some modes were going to have like a water ball.
Okay, nice.
And a little tidbit there, but yeah, it didn't really work. And so, the decision it basically came down to was, hey, the flaming ball looks super cool.
It sure does. Yeah.
Let's use that as much as we can.
I mean, Magic Pixel probably had that in the hopper too, because they've used it on the tower defense games like Space Invaders and stuff too. So at least there was some precedence for that, if that makes any sense. But
yeah, absolutely.
So cool. Being that this was your first game, did you anticipate this to be almost exclusively multi-ball?
No.
We kind of destroyed your game right away.
I know. And yeah, it's definitely it's something that it's a mistake I made, in my opinion, but I've kind of learned from it. Is that I didn't anticipate that being so exploitive, I guess you could say.
I mean, how could you know, right? I mean, the Nature's Fury kind of became that too.
Yeah, that one had an easy multi-ball.
And that game just got absolutely annihilated too. So it certainly hasn't been the first time.
Yeah, it was funny watching some of the videos when Firefighter came out. I was like, oh wow, they're just going for that ball walk over and over and over again.
I mean, you knew right away to make the multi-ball more difficult to get into after the first time.
Yeah, I thought that would do the job. And
so you certainly seen some of it coming, but it was
this is something I'm learning too, is don't underestimate the players.
Oh man, you're not kidding.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty amazed by the skill level of some of you guys. It's up there.
I have to watch, like the Mad Ben Hans and the Tomato Grasses and some of them guys. They're fantastic to watch, because I learned so much, because it's just like, how are they doing this? And I look at them and I go, they're not doing anything special, but yet they just are so consistent. So
when I was at Farsight, we had Keith Elwin come visit one time, and I watched him play real pinball. And at that time he was the top player in the world, and
wow.
I'm a pretty decent real pinball player, and just watching him, it's like, how are you doing that?
It's staggering, man. I know.
Yeah. So same thing with the digital players. I mean,
when I did my first IFPA event, one of the guys, and he wasn't ranked all that much, but he was like cradling 3 balls over here, and it was on. What the heck is the name of the game?
Yeah.
It was the Mel Gibson steamboat game, Maverick, the movie. And he's cradling 3 on one side and shooting with the other. I'm like, how in the world is he doing this?
Right.
And I'm supposed to compete with this? Like, no way. Yeah. So, all right. Let's switch over to the next one. Now, this next one, boy, this one kind of was all over the place. And like I said, I was super excited for it. Baby Shark.
Oh yeah,
So,
Baby Shark.
This was a cool IP. I was super, like I said, I was excited for this because I feel like we need to get more kids IPs, more girl-friendly IPs. Obviously, I think is another thing that could happen. Kids in general, really. So for Baby Shark, fascinating choice, first of all. Global phenomenon as it is. It was kind of huge, 2012-ish, I think. Am I wrong on that? It might be more recent than that. My kids are all grown and out of the house, so they weren't into Baby Shark, thank goodness. But not a traditional action property. So how did you approach designing a game that needed to appeal to both toddlers dancing to the song and adults playing pinball? And what were some of the key decisions to make that balance work for this one? Challenging.
Yeah, I mean, this one was definitely a challenge. I'll be honest, I had never heard of Baby Shark before it was given to me.
Interesting. Okay.
Because, as you said, my kids were out. So, but yeah, I think that the obvious answer is that adding the Baby Shark mode, having both the Shark mode and the Baby Shark mode. The Baby Shark mode makes it very accessible to kids.
Yep.
And then, for the adults, I think the playfield really flows nicely, so it's still fun. The big key for me in this table, though, was the music. When I first started, and PK warned me. He said, "You're going to hear this song." And I listened to it, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I was watching these videos and going to sleep at night and hearing that song in my head.
It is a little catchy. I know when this game first came out, I did my review. I did a live stream. I did the pinball post talking about it. We did all kinds of stuff with Baby Shark, and everybody across the content creators, we were all doing it. And so for that solid week, it was like Baby Shark, like you said, going to bed, dreaming about this IP.
Yeah, but you saw what I did though. This was the key. Was I went, okay, I'm not going to play that exact song.
Yes.
And of course, we didn't have the rights to the pink thong or whatever.
Yeah.
But I didn't want it anyway. I didn't want to drive the parents crazy, so that's why I thought about that. Like Calypso, Caribbean style, we'll still have the song, but it's not going to play all the time. And
yeah,
I think the music turned out really good. I don't find it annoying. My wife absolutely loves this table. It's the one she keeps coming back to play.
That's cool. I actually like the main theme is kind of like tropical in a lot of ways. It has a really cool theme to it. And then when you get into the multi-ball, it's much more Baby Sharkish, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it is the tune. It's just done in a very less obnoxious style.
Sure,
as you can say.
I really like this table too. You don't have a center post on this one. You had kind of a center peg or something like that, akin to Champions Pub, which we kind of talked about before. And I like a lot of the modes on this, but sadly they don't get used because everybody's playing Baby Shark mode. For the big points and all that stuff. But can we talk a little bit about the center post since I brought it up?
Sure. Sure.
Is a center post part of like Magic Pixel's standard Italian bottom, or do you have some play in how you manage that per table?
It's definitely an option. It's and I know, believe me, I follow the feedback. I do read the comments, I do watch the videos, the reviews and everything, and I understand that a lot of people are frustrated with seeing that post too many times. And so I will make a promise. I'll make one promise here, is that an upcoming table that is not Baby Shark, it won't be a center pop-up, it is not going to have a center post.
Oh, you heard it here first, guys. Look at that.
So I don't want to hear if you guys are screaming, hey, it's center draining too much.
Yeah, if it's too hard, it's on us, right?
Yeah, so I'll make that promise here. We will have a table coming up that does not have it.
I appreciate that. I know there's some people that are tomato grass who is very, very vocal about the center posts.
Yeah.
I generally don't mind them, other than the whole death death save thing that is kind of possible in some of them, but
yeah.
At any rate, that is what it is, I guess. So good stuff, man. Yeah, Baby Shark, it had to have been a tough IP. Like I said, I love doing the pals mode in this. There's some really cool modes actually, and I actually like to put it to the shark mode to actually play the game the way it was intended, and it's sad that it doesn't get utilized enough during Flipper Friends and stuff like that because of the scoring, but
yeah, we should have separated the leaderboards.
Is that something that you can do though? So that, I mean, especially I know AtGames wants to kind of have more kid-friendly IPs and stuff. Could there be more modes of that and some separation of that, code-wise?
It's certainly a possibility.
Okay.
It's if we did that, we'd probably have to wipe obviously the leaderboards completely.
Yeah.
To kind of start over, but
sure.
We'll see.
I mean, if anybody's resting their laurels on the number one on the back glass for Baby Shark, then maybe it's okay that we wipe those. But
what? I see those scores up there, and I'm like, how long did you play that table?
Yeah, now I'm wondering what. Let's see. Number 10 is 4 billion. Let's see. Number 1 on the back glass right now, Mad Ben Han, shocking. 14.7 billion points on Baby Shark.
That had to have taken a while. Right?
Oh, yeah. I know Spectre Gaming, he's one of the newer guys in my Discord. He has a YouTube channel as well. He said that I think he's on the back glass. Yeah, he's number 5 with 5.2 billion points. I think he said it took him 6 hours to acquire that score. So for me, I would have been pausing, going to dinner, and coming back at that point.
Yeah, that's
pretty funny.
Quite the grind,
So, all right.
Impressive.
Good stuff, man. Yeah. I appreciate the table talk for sure. So what does the process look like for expanding AtGames Originals into its own series? Does it start with new mechanics, new story? What are players asking for? Do you get feedback from players? It sounds like you do in some capacity.
Yeah, I mean, I watch videos like yours. I definitely read the Facebook comments. I watch the review videos, and but it's kind of all the above too. The new mechanics, new story. Look at Dinosaur Dynasty, for example. Dinosaur Dynasty 2 came out, and it's different dinosaurs, different mechanics, different looks to the table, and same for first responders. They're all going to focus on heroic actions. These first responders, but be different themes and mechanics.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
So, is that official yet? That First Responders is in fact a series? Then I kind of assumed it was just because of the way they branded it. But
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I can tell you that we're definitely that's actually going to be the next AtGame original.
Great.
The first responder table.
Awesome.
And we're hoping for, I think, late March for release. It's in development now.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the plan, is to have a whole series of those, because they all work, thematically as pinball tables.
They're great, and they're non-licensed IPs too, which is great actually. It gives you some freedom.
It gives me a lot of freedom. Do what I want. I can also tell you too, we're doing a natural history sequel.
That's awesome.
That's going to be the next table after.
And you didn't work on any of those before. Well, did you say you worked a little bit on Dinosaur Dynasty 2, you said?
Well, on Natural History 3, they were already in development.
Okay.
And so I gave input, and basically produced them, but I didn't design them.
Okay. Those are awesome. Those are some of my favorite games across the board. Games. So
yeah,
it's really cool that they were continuing that series in some capacity. All right, now I know we talked about this a little bit, but looking at your tables and some of the certain shots, flow styles, the toys that are there certain shots and toys and stuff that you're drawn to that you want to pull forward, or do you look back at an old Williams table and say, man, I really liked Rudy, for example? That's a off the wall one, but could you do something like that, or what would they start to recognize as your signature? If I was to look at, I always say Thomas Crofts is like Steve Ritchie 3-flipper design all the time. What would you say would be your signature thing that kind of goes in a lot of your tables, or is there such a thing?
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about it before, but uh, like a big thing for me is I don't want a bunch of flippers. I don't think you'll ever see more
Woo!
than the.
You'll make a lot of people happy with that one.
Yeah, like the four on turtles is probably the most you're ever going to see on one of my tables.
Okay.
And it made sense for that one because of the lower play field. But
Yep.
no, I just think like flow is so important to a table. Steve Ritchie, the king of flow, right?
Yep.
And so I really like that kind of rhythmic, kind of chaining shots together where it's natural. You hit a left ramp and hit the right ramp or the right loop. So I think pretty much seeing that consistently in my designs. And again, that's the influence I have. That's what I find fun. Some other things like, I mentioned before is, I want to make these tables accessible to a lot of players. So I'm very generous with ball savers, kickbacks.
Yep.
I always think an extra ball should be included somewhere, should be attainable.
Love that.
Yeah, I mean, so many tables you just never get one, and to me that's so rewarding. Like, even if I blow a turn, I've got an extra ball here.
Yep.
And, big thing for me, bash toys. I love them.
Okay.
Yeah, Shredder. Like I said, as soon as I got the Hurdles as the theme, that was my first decision.
That's awesome.
I want Shredder as a bash toy. I want to hit him.
Okay. Well, I'll be looking for that in the future then, for sure.
Yeah, I think you'll see more of those coming up.
As I know, Baby Shark doesn't have one. It has the nice little center kind of U-turn, and then Firefighter doesn't have anything like that either. So
yeah.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah,
Very cool.
Turtles was the first one where I felt like it made sense. But you will see some more coming up in the future. And that we talked about it before. Like, I love modes.
Yeah.
I think I think it's adds depth to the table, and I particularly like having a wizard mode. I think I put that.
Yes.
Baby Shark didn't have one, but the other two did, and
I've never seen the one in Firefighter.
yeah, it's tough to get to. I actually have got there though. Can't say I completed it, but yeah, I mean that feature, wizard mode, like that's what, as a player myself, it keeps me coming back. Like I keep striving for that. It's not just about points. I want to complete the table.
Yep. I am much more excited about beating a wizard mode than I am about getting a good score. That's just me too.
I'm sorry, say again.
Tales of Arabian Nights, for example, has an amazing wizard mode. That table to me was so much more exciting than ever getting a big score on that just by getting the wizard mode in it. So,
yeah.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you on that one.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's especially a well-designed one. I think the wizard mode should kind of encapsulate everything you've done.
Yeah. And Turtles does a great job at that, by the way. I love that. Yeah. I think I've gotten to the wizard mode just one time, and no way I could complete it. So, I think initially I thought it said 50 times you had to hit Shredder, and it was just too much. And come to find out, it's not actually that, but it's still a difficult enough wizard mode to get through that I just never got through.
I think in the original design, I wrote that you had to hit him 100 times.
Oh man! Wow, that would have been brutal, man.
It ended up being 25.
I'm so glad that one had a center post, because of the center mech would have been brutal. I would have certainly drained way faster for sure. But
yeah.
Okay. So AtGames is clearly investing in bringing new audiences to pinball. As a designer, what do you see as the key to hooking someone who has never played a physical pinball machine before? Obviously, digital, you have a lot more freedom in what you can do. What feature would you love to experiment with that to achieve that purpose?
I think here, I would say that, with how Baby Shark turned out, I think adding kids mode to more tables is something I really like to do. When I was designing that, it was a lot of fun. Just kind of put myself in the mindset of, all right, I'm either a novice player or a kid. How do I make this more forgiving? And so it was things like closing the out lanes, making the modes easier to complete. But to me, that's a way to draw new players in.
Absolutely.
A very clean and easy way to do it. Something else that we've been kind of talking about is like called a training mode. So I picture this as like for general pinball skills. So it'd be teaching players like think of it almost like a sports game tutorial.
Okay.
Where it's teaching you like, how to play pinball well with things like dead bounces, like how to nudge properly. And so we kind of set up sequences and you try to execute it.
Wow, that'd be cool.
It's giving you like feedback going, no, you did that too early. That ball, dead bounce, it needs to land higher in the rubber or whatever. And then also doing like table specific tutorials.
Interesting.
So, because I've seen some great videos on some of the tables that really lay out, but something that's within the game itself that really explains, all right, each of these, here's what scores the most points. This is, the things to focus on. This is how you put up big scores. That'd be super cool. So I think a lot of, novice players, they turn on a pinball machine. They don't know pinball. They're kind of like, I'm just going to keep the ball alive. That's all I'm going to try to do. So it's something that teaches people. I think it'd be a great hook.
I know, Gottlieb even has it on the original 22 games where you can literally see the table and have arrows to everything. Is that something that could be a possibility, or is that kind of what you're alluding to?
I'm picturing it more interactive than that. Oh, and I actually wrote this.
Did you really? That's cool.
Yeah. Every one of those, we used to get the tables, and I would take the glass off, and I would figure out what everything scored. I would sit there with my finger hitting every target, starting every mode. And,
that'd be so cool.
I wrote all of those table instructions for every Farsight table.
Man, I would have been in heaven, dude. I love that kind of thing, so that's cool.
Yeah, so.
Good stuff. Okay, if given unlimited resources, so pie in the sky, right? Unlimited resources, no constraints on a theme or the complexity of it, what is your dream table? What would you want to design? And would you make it feel... what would make it feel like the ultimate passion project for you? Tough question.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Matrix on this one.
Ooh, good choice.
Yeah.
Really hasn't been done other than VPX.
Yeah, my understanding is this is a tough license, but especially the original movie. Some of the other ones weren't so great, but the original, just the pacing of that movie, and just picture what the gameplay features and mechanics could look like. That would probably be my number one. And I don't know, did they want to make a Big Lebowski table?
They did. Yes.
Did they?
Isn't that the pool game? It's not pool. Bowling. There's a bowl. Doesn't it have the bowling? He's got
probably a bowling game.
Got the dude, right?
Yeah.
Is that the Big Lebowski, right?
I'm just picturing if you could get the original quotes from that.
Yeah, for sure. At least it's not Kingpin or any of those.
My God, you could. It almost wouldn't matter what the table played like.
You say that, but it's not true because a bad game is just a bad game. But sometimes a really good theme can help a gameplay. But it doesn't matter what the IP is. If the gameplay is good, people are going to play it. So.
Well, it would definitely have a center post. I can tell you.
That's hilarious. Matrix. Boy, I could see you kind of doing like a. You could kind of use like System Shock, so it wouldn't be the licensed Matrix, but it could kind of be System Shock, kind of Matrix-y, if you will. That could maybe work, but there's some options there for sure.
No, I think it'd just be a fantastic table.
Absolutely. It's funny because nobody's done anything with Matrix. You'd think they'd be a little more loose on that IP to do something with, to bring them back into the forefront, but it's just not how it works with money, I guess. But
Nope.
All right. Which table surprised you? We'll go into kind of a bonus round here. It's quick stuff. Which table surprised you the most that once real players got their hands on it?
Well, this is easily Baby Shark.
Really?
Yeah. It's funny because when we announced it, I was reading the Facebook comments and
It was kind of all over the place, I bet.
Oh no. Oh no. You're like, what are they doing? And then, but it was super cool that once we put it out that people really understood what we were trying to achieve, and I think we did a good job of not making it, it wasn't like watching that mind-numbing series on
Absolutely. I think
YouTube.
you did that game good justice, man. I really appreciate that game. I know the younger kids that come to my house for family events and stuff, they play it. They love it. In fact, on the Micro, it was a huge hit because it's a smaller table. They don't have to have... it doesn't have to be full height. Yeah, they don't have to have any of that. So it was perfect for that.
Yep.
So commend you for that for sure. All right. What's the most important lesson that you've learned about designing pinball tables?
I think this is where I kind of have to give a big shout out to Magic Pixel because I've learned a lot from those guys. The collaboration has been great. I mean, they really are great to work with, and because coming from a background of working on real pinball tables, it's a lot different.
That's true. Yeah,
it's easy enough to try to recreate something, but so I'll give them a quick shout out there. But yeah, I mean, we touched on it earlier, but scoring balance. This is probably the biggest thing I've learned. That if I could go back and change it, I would change that Firehawk multi-ball to not be so high scoring. And
that would hurt people though. They love that game for that reason.
Yeah, but I can't do it. I don't want to wipe the leaderboard on that one. So it's going to stay as is.
I gotcha.
Lesson learned. I mean, I think at each table that we do this collaboration, we're kind of learning about each other, and I'm learning more as I go, and it's awesome. Getting better.
It sounds like a great a relationship on both sides. I mean, they're getting to be able to create original games, and you're getting to design them in-house, which is really cool for AtGames. So, great in that regard. All right. Next up, which table do you personally enjoy playing the most after it's shipped?
Oh, that's got to be Turtles.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So there's so much to do. And I actually did complete the wizard mode on that table.
I'm still...
Only once. I've only done it one time, come close a few times, but that was so satisfying. And,
I'll bet.
That's when I knew, all right, this one I balanced pretty well. And I don't feel like any mode totally stands out as being exploitive.
Yeah, there really isn't.
Again, because that's the thing is I want players to want to play all the modes. I don't want it to feel... I just want to get the best score, so I'm going to do this. I want you to feel like I want to experience all of it.
Yeah, so, the only part on that game that I ever found super difficult to do was there's a pizza sub mode.
Yeah.
And the timing is so short on it that I had a really hard time getting those shots. But otherwise, everything's super well balanced on that. And
that's another good example of learning too. Is I probably would have bumped the timer up on that a little more.
And I love the lower playfield to finish the modes and get extra points. Yeah. That's really cool too. So, all right, we'll start with if you could add one new standard feature to every home pinball machine, what would it be?
All right. Excuse me. I'm going to go with online multiplayer.
Okay.
So imagine how cool it would be, like alternating turns with somebody across the world, just like you did in an arcade.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me would be great, especially if you could watch their ball.
Zaccaria does that. So
yeah.
The Magic Pixel people, right? On Zaccaria Pinball on Steam, they actually do spectate. So it's really cool to hear that. I would love to see that implemented, to be honest. And
yeah, I think it'd be a game changer. I mean, it really would. And we even talked about possibly you're playing at the same time and you're seeing a ghost ball.
Oh wow, that might be distracting, but
yeah. We did it subtle enough. I think it could work.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting. If nothing else, just seeing their score at the same time.
That would be cool. I know for, anytime you play live with somebody, sometimes they have a really good ball and you're standing there watching. So that might happen a lot too. If I do like Battle of the Streamers, like I did with Tomato Grass early on this channel, there were times when we were trying to implement a multiplayer that way by streaming the games. We had to play all 3 games live to make sure that everything was just and all that, and that was how we did our multiplayer that way. So it's really cool. Yeah. All right.
Well, you're probably old enough to remember the old arcade days when you'd stick a quarter on the machine.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Call it next.
Yep, absolutely. All right, final thoughts. Is there anything else you want to mention or talk about, or just anything out there?
Yeah, actually, I've got some. I think will be exciting news. Is we're actually going to go back and give all the Gottlieb tables a graphical overhaul.
Really?
Improve everything visually.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to take that, to the next level.
Oof.
Yeah, I think it's really going to make those tables feel new and fresh. So we're pretty excited about that.
That's huge. And so that's 22 games. I mean, that's got to be pretty time consuming and resource heavy, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, what's cool is that we actually have the original technical director from Farsight working on that.
Wonderful. Okay, cool. Well, that's...
Yeah.
I know when they refreshed just the ball, it made such a difference. It went from the sliding ball to at least a rolling ball. It made them a lot better.
Yeah.
Wow, that's huge news. I mean, those Gottlieb's tables are really well loved. Just a lot of the scoring issues
they're a little dated looking, and
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, because you picked those came out. God, at this point, what, 16, 17 years ago at least?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to say it was 2012, I think it is, and that does not sound like 16 years ago. I will say that.
Well, 2011 was when Pinball Arcade came out, but I think the Gottlieb tables were actually there was a standalone Gottlieb product.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if I remember that or not.
Yeah, a lot of those I think were from that original product. But the other thing I just want to say too is I appreciate you and all, everybody supports AtGames, and I want people to know that we do welcome feedback. Let us know what features you like, don't like, any table themes you would like to see in the future.
Sure.
We're listening. So
if anything, I think we've been maybe too vocal on what we want and not want.
But believe me, I appreciate the feedback, good and bad. So
that's cool. No, I for one have tried to stay positive even when some people are super negative about it. I realize that it's got to be a challenge to serve. First of all, licensed versus non-licensed IPs, and then kids versus adults, and then you got the elite players too. To try to temper everybody and satisfy everybody across the board has got to be a super big challenge. So
like that, 35 years in the game industry. It's nothing new for me.
For this, I just want to say a huge thank you to PK, first of all, for reaching out to me, bringing me into this community, just to have access to you guys and be able to talk about this stuff. This interview obviously is huge, to have some level of access to you guys and just be able to have that camaraderie, if you will, input. I know certainly I've done my best to try to help with bug logs and all that kind of thing, to try to help out and be a voice for the people, if you will, on my community. This is a huge opportunity, and I really appreciate you. I know just that we've talked maybe a month or two at most, and I come to really appreciate you as a friend, and it's been really awesome. So,
hey, same Troy, man.
Hope to keep this
Very much
going.
Appreciated.
Well, thank you so much. I guess we'll leave it at that. But thanks again for your time. I know this has been a long time coming. We had to make it all work. My schedule is nuts. Your schedule is nuts, obviously, with as much work as you're doing. But we appreciate you, man. This community loves AtGames. We just want to see the best games possible, the best experiences possible continued. And
absolutely.
I guess we'll leave it at that. I like to always end my show with one quote, and you probably already know it. You only need one ball for greatness. Keep plunging, and we'll see you next time, guys. Thanks again, Scott. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah. Thank you.